I wasn't supposed to be the only one in the theater. It was a late showing, nothing unusual about that, and when I bought the ticket, there were already a handful of seats taken. Not packed, but enough that you wouldn't expect to be alone. By the time the movie actually started, though, most of those seats were empty. A couple people had come in during the trailers, but I noticed at least 3 groups who had tickets just never showed up. I didn't think much of it at the time. It happens. I took a seat about halfway up, off to the side. Close enough to see everything clearly, but not right in the center. There was one other person I noticed, a guy sitting a few rows behind me, closer to the middle. He had come in late, right as the movie started, and didn't bring any snacks or anything with him. Just walked in, sat down, and that was it. About 20 minutes into the movie, I got the feeling someone was watching me. Not in a dramatic way, just that awareness you get when something shifts slightly. I turned around casually. The guy behind me was looking straight at me. Not at the screen, at me. I held the look for a second, expecting him to glance away like most people would. He didn't. He just kept staring, expression completely neutral. Then, after a few seconds, he slowly leaned back and looked up at the screen like nothing had happened. I turned back around and tried to ignore it, told myself I was overthinking it. A little while later, I heard something from behind me. Not talking, more like movement, fabric shifting, a seat creaking. I glanced back again. His seat was empty. At first, I thought he might have gone to the bathroom, but I didn't remember hearing him get up. And the exit doors were heavy. You usually hear them open. I looked toward the aisle. Nothing. So I turned back around. A few minutes passed. Then I heard it again. This time closer. Not behind me, to my right. I turned my head slightly. He was sitting 2 rows over, closer than before. Same posture, same expression, looking at me. I felt that drop in my stomach then, because I hadn't seen him move. Didn't hear him walk past, didn't hear the door, nothing. He was just there now. I stood up, not quickly, just enough to move into the aisle. He didn't react, didn't follow, just watched. I told myself I was going to leave. Go out, get some air, maybe switch theaters or just head home. As I started walking down the steps, I heard a sound behind me. Footsteps. Slow, matching mine. I stopped. The footsteps stopped. I started again. They started again. I didn't turn around. I didn't want to confirm it. I just kept walking. Right before I reached the exit, I heard something else. A whisper. Close. Right behind me. Too close for the distance I thought was between us. I couldn't make out what it said, just that it was there. I pushed the door open and stepped out into the hallway. The lights felt too bright after the dark. I turned around immediately. The door swung shut behind me. No one came out. I stood there for a few seconds, waiting. Nothing. I went to the front desk and told them there was someone acting weird in the theater. They checked the room, came back a few minutes later and said there was no one inside. I told them exactly where he had been sitting. They went back again. Same result. Empty. I asked them if anyone else had bought tickets for that showing. They checked. There were only 2. Mine and one other. The one assigned to the seat directly behind me. I left after that. Didn't finish the movie, didn't go back there for a long time. I still don't know what happened in that room. Maybe I missed something. Maybe he left at some point and I just didn't notice. But that doesn't explain how he got closer, or how he was behind me, without ever walking past me. And it definitely doesn't explain what I heard right before I got to the door. I didn't even want to be at the movie that night. It was one of those last showings that starts too late, but I had already bought the ticket earlier in the day and didn't feel like wasting it. The theater wasn't completely empty, but it was close. Maybe 5 or 6 people scattered around. I picked a seat near the back, off to the side, not thinking about anything except getting through the movie. About halfway in, I felt something hit the back of my seat. Not hard, just enough to make it shift slightly. I assumed it was the person behind me adjusting their legs or something like that, so I didn't turn around. A minute or so later, it happened again, a little more force this time. I turned around. There was a guy sitting directly behind me, leaning forward slightly, elbows on his knees, looking at the screen. Didn't look at me, didn't react at all. I gave it a second, expecting him to apologize or at least acknowledge it. Nothing. So I turned back around. A few minutes later, I felt it again. This time it wasn't just a bump, it was a push, enough that the back of my seat moved forward slightly. I turned around again. "Hey, can you not do that?" I said quietly. He looked at me this time, and for a second I thought he didn't understand what I said. Not because of language, just the way he looked at me, like it took a second too long to process. Then he nodded once, slowly, didn't say anything. For a while after that, it stopped. I went back to watching the movie, trying to ignore it. Then I felt something else. Not on the seat, on me. Something brushed the back of my shoulder. Light, but deliberate. I turned around immediately. He was closer now, leaning forward more than before, his hand resting on the top of my seat, close enough that if he reached a little further, he'd be touching me again. "What are you doing?" I said. This time, I wasn't trying to be quiet. He didn't answer. He just kept looking at me. I stood up. Not fast, just enough to put some space between us. As soon as I did, he stood up too. That's when it stopped feeling like a misunderstanding. I stepped into the aisle. He stepped into the aisle. Same pace, same distance. Still not saying anything. I started heading down toward the exit. I didn't look back, but I could hear him behind me. Footsteps, matching mine. Every step. About halfway down, I felt it again. A hand on my back. Firm this time. Pushing. Not enough to knock me over, just enough to force me forward faster than I wanted. I turned around sharply and shoved him off me. "What's your problem?" I said. He didn't react, didn't get angry, didn't back off. He just stepped forward again. I didn't wait. I turned and moved faster toward the exit. He followed. Still not running, still not speaking, just keeping up. I pushed through the exit door and stepped into the hallway. The lights were brighter out there, and for a second I thought that might be enough, like being out in the open would make it stop. It didn't. He came through the door right after me. Closer now. Too close. I could hear his breathing behind me. I turned again, more aggressive this time, and shoved him harder. He stumbled back a step. That was the first time he reacted at all. Not with anger, not with words, just a slight shift in his expression, like something had changed. That's when I moved. Fast. Straight toward the front desk. I didn't even say anything at first, just got behind the counter area where the staff were. One of them looked at me and asked what was wrong. I pointed back toward the hallway. He wasn't there. The door to the theater was closed. No one coming out, no footsteps, nothing. They went to check, came back a minute later, said the theater was empty, no one inside except me. I told them exactly where he was sitting, what he did, how close he got. They checked again. Same result, empty. I left after that. Didn't argue, didn't try to explain it again, just left. The next day, I noticed something when I was getting dressed. A mark on my back, near my shoulder. Long, thin, like a scratch. I don't remember hitting anything, I don't remember falling, and I definitely don't remember him having anything in his hands. I stopped going to late movies after that. Not because of the theater, but because of how close he got, how easily he moved without anyone noticing, and how, even when I was out in the hallway, he was still right behind me, close enough to touch. The weird part wasn't the guy, it was the kid. I noticed him before the movie even started. He was maybe 10 or 11, sitting a few seats down from me, by himself, eating popcorn like it was the most normal thing in the world. No parent, no phone, just sitting there, watching the previews. I remember thinking it was a bit strange, but not enough to question it. People leave kids alone all the time. About 15 minutes into the movie, he leaned over slightly and said, "Can I sit here?" I thought he meant the seat next to me, so I shrugged and said, "Yeah." He moved over without waiting for anything else. Didn't say thanks, didn't introduce himself, just sat down and kept watching the screen. For a while, nothing happened. Then, out of nowhere, he said, "If someone asks, don't say you saw me." I actually laughed a little. I thought he was joking. "What?" "Just don't," he said. "Okay?" Something about the way he said it made me stop smiling. It wasn't playful. It wasn't nervous either, just direct. I turned toward him a bit more. "Where are your parents?" I asked. He didn't answer, just kept watching the movie. Then he said, "He's here." I felt that shift again. The kind where your brain doesn't know what to do with what you just heard. "Who?" I asked. The kid didn't look at me. "He comes in and out," he said. "He checks the rows." I was about to say something else when I saw someone step into the aisle at the front of the theater. An employee. At least, I assumed it was. Black clothes, carrying a flashlight, slowly walking up the steps, shining it across the seats. Checking. Normal, right? Except, he wasn't wearing any kind of uniform. No logo, no name tag, just dark clothes. And he wasn't looking at the screen or the seats. He was looking at people, one by one. I glanced back at the kid. He had sunk down slightly in his seat. Not dramatically, just enough that his face was a little more hidden in the shadow. "Don't look at him too long," he said quietly. I didn't respond. I just watched. The guy kept moving up the rows, slow, steady, stopping every few seconds to shine the light at someone. He wasn't asking anyone anything, wasn't checking tickets, just looking. When he got to our row, he paused. The light passed over me first, then stopped. I didn't move, didn't say anything, just sat there. The light shifted slightly and hovered over the seat next to me, where the kid was sitting. The kid didn't move, didn't look up, didn't react. After a second, the guy lowered the flashlight and kept walking. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding, turned to say something to the kid. He wasn't there. The seat was empty, popcorn gone, no sound of him leaving, no movement, just gone. I stood up immediately, looked down the row, nothing. Checked the aisle, no one. That didn't make sense. There was no way he could have moved that fast without me noticing. I went out into the hallway, found one of the actual employees at the front. I told them there was a kid sitting alone, acting weird, maybe lost. They asked me what he looked like. I told them. Age, clothes, everything. They just looked at me, confused. Then one of them said, "There aren't any kids in that theater." I insisted, told them exactly where he was sitting, what he said, about the guy with the flashlight. That's when their expressions changed. Not confused anymore, just uncomfortable. One of them walked me back to the theater. We stepped inside. The movie was still playing. Everything normal. Then I pointed. "Right there," I said. "That's where he was sitting." The employee didn't look at the seat. He looked at the aisle, then said, "Sir, we don't have anyone doing checks tonight." I felt that drop in my stomach again, the same one from earlier, because that meant the guy with the flashlight wasn't staff. And whatever the kid was hiding from had been walking through that theater, looking directly at people. I didn't go back in after that. I left. Didn't finish the movie. I don't know who that kid was. I don't know how he got in or where he went. But I keep thinking about what he said, about not telling anyone I saw him. Because whoever that man was, he wasn't just looking for anyone. He was checking. Row by row, seat by seat, like he already knew who he was there for.